Damien tore through every room of the pack house, his heart pounding like a drum in his chest. His wolf clawed within him, restless and agitated, urging him to find me. Drawers were yanked open. Closets rifled through, but there was nothing, no scent, no belongings, no sign of the mate he had cherished for 7 years. This can't be happening, he growled, his voice raw with desperation. He pulled out his phone, dialing my number for what must have been the 100th time, but all he got was the cold, mechanical voice of the answering service. Each time the call cut off, it felt like a dagger slicing through his chest. In a frenzy, he tried reaching out to me through the Pack social media network, only to see the devastating words, "This user is no longer in your friend list." For a fleeting moment, Damien questioned reality. Had the bond we'd shared been an illusion? Had I, his mate, been a figment of his imagination all along? But no, the ache in his chest, the emptiness where our bond used to hum with life, told him otherwise. Then a thought struck him. His trembling hands opened the couple's location tracking app we had once used to stay connected during pack missions. His breath hitched when he saw history. 2 weeks ago I was near him, just meters away, but had stopped short and turned back. What happened that day? He muttered, his voice shaking with a mixture of anger and fear. He checked the date on the app's timeline, then glanced at his calendar. The realization hit him like a lightning bolt. His phone slipped from his grasp, shattering as it hit the hardwood floor, but Damien barely noticed. That same evening, far from Damien's anguish, I stood in the middle of a lavish hotel banquet, surrounded by the Pack's allies and business associates. My father Alpha had insisted I attend as part of my duties as his daughter. The room was alive with laughter, clinking glasses, and the hum of polite conversation, but I felt detached, my wolf restless and uneasy. After hours of toasting and forced smiles, I could no longer endure the suffocating atmosphere. My feet ached from the towering heels I wore, and my cheeks hurt from the practiced smile I had plastered all evening. Seeking solace, I slipped away unnoticed, finding refuge in one of the guest rooms upstairs. The room was dimly lit, the muffled sounds of the banquet a distant hum. I kicked off my heels and sank onto the plush bed, letting out a tired sigh. Closing my eyes, I willed myself to relax, but a soft noise from the bathroom made my eyes snap open. "Who's there?" I called, with my voice firm despite the flutter of anxiety in my chest. There was no response, only the faint sound of water dripping. My wolf stirred uneasily, urging caution, but curiosity got the better of me. I approached the bathroom door, my bare feet silent against the carpet. Slowly I pushed the door open, and before I could react, a strong hand shot out, yanking me inside. I gasped, but the sound was quickly stifled as I found myself pinned against the cool tiled wall. My eyes widened as I took in the man before me. He was soaking wet, his dark hair clinging to his face, and his breathing was labored as if he had run miles to get there. His golden eyes, usually so vibrant, were dim and clouded with exhaustion. "Tulia," he rasped, his voice hoarse but filled with unmistakable relief. My heart raced, my wolf howling in recognition and longing, but I forced myself to remain composed. "Who are you?" His grip on my arms loosened, and he staggered forward, his weight pressing against me as he struggled to stay upright. "What a coincidence," he murmured, a weak chuckle escaping him. "I'm your fiancé, the one whom you will be bonded in the future. Do you think you could do me a huge favor?" A favor?" I stammered, confused and wary. Despite the pull of the mate bond, the memory of our last argument still stung. "Why should I trust you?" He chuckled again, though it sounded more like a pained exhale. His breath was warm against my cheek, sending an involuntary shiver down my spine. "Cautious, are we?" he teased, though his voice lacked its usual spark. "My wallet and phone are in my jacket pocket. Check them if you don't believe me." Reluctantly I steadied him against the wall and reached into his jacket, my hands trembling. I pulled out his wallet and flipped it open, scanning the ID. Sure enough, it was him. It really was him. My father had sent me everything about him, details about his achievements, family members, and even photos. But seeing him in person, he looked different from the smiling, carefree wolf I'd seen in those pictures. The man standing before me now, with his serious expression and flushed face, looked older, more mature, and undeniably attractive. "Are you feeling okay?" I asked, slipping his wallet back into his pocket while studying him closely. He was tall and lean, his height so commanding that I barely reached his chin even when he looked this weak. His pale skin and sharp features, a blend of Eastern and Western elegance, gave him an exotic charm. Even his ruggedness, likely from exhaustion, couldn't hide how good-looking he was. "No, I just got set up," he growled, his voice rough and laced with anger. "Set up?" I froze mid-step as I helped him toward the bed. "What do you mean?" He didn't respond right away. Instead, his piercing eyes locked onto mine, a flicker of wildness in his gaze that made my heart race. His masculine scent, a mix of pine and something uniquely him, filled the air, leaving me dizzy. That look, it was primal, raw, and unmistakable. My wolf stirred uneasily within me, urging me to run. Could I still escape? Sensing my hesitation, he moved in a flash, his grip firm on my arm as he took a quick step forward. Before I could react, he threw me onto the soft mattress. Too late for that, he said, his voice low and commanding. I bounced slightly on the bed, but before I could scramble away, he pinned me down. If you're not planning to break off the bonding ceremony, he began, his tone softening just enough to sound pleading, can you at least help me out? I didn't know how to respond. I wasn't planning to end the engagement, but being this close to someone I'd just met was overwhelming. Good, you're not leaving, he said, taking my silence as agreement. Without hesitation, he leaned in, his lips claiming mine. 2 hours later, I sat on the edge of the bed, rubbing my wrist and glaring at the sleeping man beside me. My cheeks were warm with irritation. The nerve of him, beast. I grabbed a pillow ready to smack him awake, but a sudden knock on the door stopped me in my tracks. Tulia, my brother's voice called from the other side. Before I could answer, Jackin, still groggy, stretched over me, cracked the door open and pulled my brother inside. The moment my brother stepped into the room, his eyes widened like saucers. I told you to get to know each other not this well, he sputtered, his voice a mix of shock and anger. Shut up, Jackin mumbled weakly, collapsing back onto the bed. My brother's face turned red as he clenched his fists, snapping at me now. What did you do to my sister? Even if you're engaged, this is too beastly. Seeing the tension escalate, I quickly stepped between them. Brother, it's not what you think. Then explain, he demanded, glaring at both of us. I coughed awkwardly, my mind scrambling for the right words. We hadn't gone that far, but we'd crossed a line no ordinary friends would. How could I explain that? Before I could answer, Jackin spoke up. His voice was calm but tired. You know my family situation. This time I got caught up in their schemes and had no other choice. My brother's angry expression softened slightly, though his brows remained furrowed. After a tense pause, he finally let it go. On the way back to the banquet, curiosity got the better of me. What did Jackin mean by his family situation? Kurz sighed, his shoulders sagging under the weight of the explanation. It's complicated, he said. But seeing my persistence, he finally gave in. Apparently, the Jackin family patriarch had planned to hand over the leadership of the pack to Jackin once he secured a strong marriage alliance. But not everyone in the family was happy about that decision. Jackin's second aunt in particular was fiercely opposed. She believed the next leadership should fall between her husband or Jackin's father. However, neither man was suited to lead. Jackin's father preferred peace and solitude, while his second uncle had a history of being manipulated and scammed. The second aunt wasn't willing to give up, though. Unable to sway the patriarch's decision, she turned to sabotage. Her schemes became increasingly desperate, with her latest plot involving her son, who had just turned 18. She wanted to use her son to cause a scandal, my brother explained grimly. Anything to disrupt the engagement and ruin Jackin's reputation. Hearing this, I felt a pang of sympathy for Jackin. He'd been forced into an impossible position, fighting against his own family while trying to uphold the engagement that tied our fates together. Back at the banquet, I found myself stealing glances at Jackin. He had joined the crowd, his expression smiling yet unreadable, but there was quiet strength in the way he carried himself despite everything. For the first time, I began to see beyond the title of fiancé and the man burdened by his family expectations. Beneath it all was someone fighting to protect what mattered most, someone who, despite the chaos, had chosen me as his mate. And as much as I hated to admit it, my wolf had already chosen him too.